Adam, welcome. It's been a while.
It has been, mate. It's been a while, and thanks for inviting me on.
No, we've been talking about this for quite a while, haven't we? Oh,
Yeah,
Christ, you got
yeah,
lightning and all sorts going on behind you there.
yeah. No, well, I'm in northern Italy at the moment, so the weather's a bit changeable.
Yeah,
So I think a thunderstorm's rolling in.
we've had a stark contrast from last year. Last year was blazing, like being a broad summer, and we've had nothing but rain since February. We've had, I think, maybe one or two sunny days. I've been planting in my garden and all sorts. It's really, really struggled this year.
Yeah, I mean that's one reason why I decided to move to Italy to try and get away from all
Yeah.
that. But, it is what it is. Yeah.
So, whereabouts in northern Italy? Like, give me a city that I'd know that you're close to.
So, well, I'm currently just north of Milan. But as you can maybe work out or not, I'm in the hotel room at the moment. So this is just a week up in northern Italy. I'm actually living down in the south, near a place called Lecce.
Right.
So right on the heel of Italy. So
Okay.
down there, the weather
Flatter
is
ground
about
down there, is it?
25 degrees. It is very flat, mate. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Perfect for flying. So I was discussing yesterday with the guys at work because I showed them the photos because the photos you sent were really cool, and hopefully if you can get the videos over so that anybody that listens can actually see you in action in the planes, that'd be great. But the point you put about the scrambling to intercept a helicopter and you flew supersonic over the country. We
Yeah.
were trying to work out how long that would have taken you. Would it have taken you longer to get up to the altitude to fly at that than it would have to go supersonic to?
Yeah, so that whole event was a little bit crazy. I'd only started on the front line on my squadron about maybe 3 months prior, so not long. And within the first 3 months, just after lunch, so a belly full of food, we got a call to go into to run to the jets, and then the message came to get airborne, fly west basically, and fly at Mach 1.2. It's
Right.
about 40,000 feet, and the adrenaline starts, racing, and before you know it, you're at 40,000 feet doing Mach 1.2, and then you think, right, where am I going? What am I doing? It's all a bit surreal. So I think it took longer to get the jet airborne than it did to actually get from Lincolnshire to Bristol. But when we got over there, on the way over there, we weren't really sure what we were going to find. And it turned out to be a helicopter, which is they're notoriously difficult to try and intercept because they're going so slow.
Yeah.
But we managed to do it. What was really funny though afterwards was somebody in Chipping Norton put a claim into the MOD because they thought their dry stone wall had been knocked down by the sonic boom.
That's brilliant.
I don't think the MOD paid out.
No, I was going to say I don't. Yeah, that's. I remember you telling me about the shithousery between helicopter pilots and fast jet pilots. How you'd sort of just flip them the bird as you'd fly by them.
Yeah, there's always a bit of bounce between the different types, rotary, multi-engine, and fast jet. Yeah.
Well, I think that fast jet's going to win every time, isn't it? It's got.
Well, I wouldn't like to say, but you make your choice at the end of the day, I suppose.
Yeah, I've since being sort of shut away and not really been able to do anything for the last year. It sort of sparked my interest in aviation again because, like, over Hereford, you see quite a few. Well, they tend to be Cessnas that you see flying over mostly, but you get the occasional military stuff going on, getting the helicopters, and we've had a couple of jets go over. So I've been testing Sean's spotting skills at times. I said, like, trying my best to get the photos as they go over and sending them, getting him to try and pick them out, which is quite dorky, really, but it's kept me quite entertained. I've even got on my shed roof a couple of times. I'll send you some photos that I've got actually of the. I'm not even sure what they were doing, but there's been a few times since last March that you've had quite low flying helicopters coming down with doors open, and you can see the soldiers inside with the rifles and everything. They drop down, I think, somewhere near the TA centre, which is just sort of south of where I am. And then within minutes, the helicopter would come up, no soldiers in it, and quick, sort of like a quick drop, and out they go.
And off. Yeah.
I was conspiracy theory with Sean when it first started happening. I was like, they're getting ready for martial law, mate. They've got to be. There's no. I've never seen this in Hereford. Why are they doing it now? It's got to be the SAS. But I think it was just.
You like a good conspiracy, mate.
I think they're just bored. I saw one of the lads that I know that's in the regiment, and I was like, a lot of seeing those. I think they're Dolphiners, aren't they? The SAS.
That's right. Yeah.
So I've seen quite a few of those kicking about. What's going on? He went, mate, they've got nothing to do. They can't do anything, so they might as well fly. I was like, oh, I was expecting something a little bit more exciting, but
bit more juicy. Yeah.
Well, and the more I think of it, he's not going to tell me if they were up to something anyway, would he?
No, he wouldn't.
So, so your job now, you're a. What's the guy in Top Gun? What's his name?
No, it's not Goose, because Goose is a navigator.
No, what's like Maverick and Iceman's teacher? What was he called?
There's two, isn't there? There's Viper. And
that's him. That's it. You're Viper now, aren't you?
Jester. I won't go that far. Viper. You can't compare anyone to Viper. Viper's a legend. You know? Yeah.
You
So,
go ahead. So,
yeah. I was going to say, I'm teaching people now in Italy to fly the jet before they get to their final fighter jet, if you like. Right. So it's equivalent to the Hawk training that we do.
You were doing that Valley. when we first met, weren't you? You were sort of on a 6-month break.
That's right. Yeah. So I was a student at the time. Yeah, up at Valley. And after my time on the front line, I went back to Valley to teach students there, and that was my last posting in the Air Force before I then transferred over to Civvy Street. Yeah. To then teach guys out here.
So are you instructing in Italian or in English?
Luckily for me, because my Italian is terrible. The language of aviation is English, pretty much all over the world. So I should learn more Italian. Sasha, my wife, she can speak good Italian now, but I'm still pretty bad at it. Yeah. Ciao, molto bene is about as far as my Italian goes.
Well, I suppose that works out quite well then.
Yeah, for me being lazy, yeah, it does.
Yeah. I meant to ask you about one of the pictures, actually. It's one of you obviously flying and somebody's taking a picture. I don't know if it's a deceiving picture because it's been rotated, or if some nutter is doing the exact same thing that you are and pointing the jet directly at the ground, and you're clearly flying. Have I lost you? No, you're still there.
Still here. Yeah.
You're flying directly at the ground.
Yeah.
Completely vertical. And that's, to me, that's terrifying.
That is, you will make a good pilot, Darren. That's close formation aerobatics. So you do a very little bit of it, a bit of exposure in the phase 4 training, which I'm teaching. Obviously, ultimately, people would do that day in, day out. Will be the red arrows, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
But we give a little bit of a taste of it to the students here. So you fly in, so I say, close formation, so wingtip to wingtip, maybe only a few meters apart, and then you hold that position, and then you'll do, say, a loop or a barrel roll. And because our jets are 2-seat, then you've, in that scenario, had somebody in the front or back taking some photos, but we were pointing straight down to the ground. But we were at about 10,000 feet, so there's plenty of height still to go.
I still think that's mental. Does that, do you get, because I've spoken to like a number of people who've done parachuting and stuff. They say that when they jump out of an aircraft, they don't get the falling sensation, because obviously the aircraft's moving. So it's not like being on a roller coaster where you suddenly drop and your stomach goes. Do you get that feeling, or is it more if you're accelerating towards the earth? I'm guessing you've got G-force and stuff, and you're having to, is it hooking? Is that what it's called?
So you don't really, G-force is part of it, but you don't get that sensation that you're flying at 400 miles per hour, because the height you're at, you start to feel what you call a ground rush when you're low, because then you get the peripheral vision of the ground around you, so then you can get the sensation of speed. But at height, you don't really sense that. When you start to pull back on the stick or push on the stick, then you get some G-force, which is then what you might experience on a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference being a jet is that it's prolonged, so it can be sustained for quite a while. Whereas on a roller coaster, you'll only sense maybe 4G for a second or two. Whereas in a say a Typhoon, you may feel 9G for maybe up to 30 seconds, if not more, which can be pretty painful when your head weighs 9 times what it usually does.
So you have specialist suits on that, don't you, that sort of try and help control the blood flow to stop you passing out?
Yes.
Have you ever got to the point where you start to grey out? Have you ever actually blacked out?
No, thankfully not. I've got grey out before, in a Typhoon, and in the jet I'm flying now. But the kit that you wear really, really helps. And then you also do a straining maneuver, and that basically keeps the blood up towards your heart and your head, so keeps you conscious.
Yeah, I've seen some, because I'm, like I said, I'm a dork. I've seen some videos, and that's where I was asked about the hooking. I think it's a Yank term, where they sort of hooch, and they're trying to keep either the oxygen or the blood flow up rather than going down to the legs. Is that?
Yeah, so that's what we call a G strain maneuver. So you're essentially tensing up your muscles, and you're holding your breath. And what that's doing is it's just constricting all of the blood vessels in your body just to try and stop that blood flow away from your head. And then when you tense your muscles, the G suit inflates as well, and the two push together, and again it just tries to keep the blood up towards your
you must feel head. Pretty fucking beaten up after something like that.
Oh yeah, you do, and it's you build a tolerance for it. So the first time you do it, you're sweating buckets, and you can maybe do one flight in the day. You just want to go to bed. But after you do it for a while, then, like I say, you build a tolerance, and then it almost becomes a bit second nature. And they say that even though you need to be fit to join the military, people that are short, have high blood pressure, and are generally unfit, drink lots of beer, they can actually sustain quite a lot of G-force.
Right.
Because the blood pressure is high anyway.
I remember you saying, when, I can't even remember what year it was, but when we were me and you were inseparable for about a good 6 months, weren't we? Because I was my only job was to train people, and you had all the time off. So we were playing golf, then we go training, then we go to the pub. But I remember you saying that you were quite abnormal because you're quite tall, and at the time when you were training with me, you got quite thick, and that's quite abnormal for a pilot.
Well, I think because we spent so much time training, then able to put on quite a bit of mass. But I think you get some pretty big pilots. But for me, that was abnormal because naturally, I'm a little bit skinny. But yeah, to sort of put on 10 kilograms was definitely wow. That was a busy 6 months in the gym.
It was, yeah. We sorted a few people out that year. We got Mitch from being formerly fat, now incredibly skinny Mitch, to an absolute weapon.
Yeah.
Melding from being lanky to being solid.
But still lanky, yeah.
Still lanky, still grumpy. Still gets his takeaways. He thinks I don't know. Fat knacker. And he always complains, trying to get stuff for free. We know, John, if you listen to this, I'm sure you will, as Adam's on here, but we know that you're trying to get your meal for free. Because I told him you would be.
Round dodging job.
Yeah, he I haven't seen him for ages, actually. I haven't seen any of them. But yeah, so aside of flying for a few minutes, like how are you finding life in Italy?
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, it's true what they say. The food is great, the wine is great. I'm not going to lie. The Italians are right about that. And the weather down in southern Italy is really nice. Obviously, like everyone, it's been a bit of a crazy 18 months with COVID, and Italy had it pretty bad as well. Start of 2020, when not much was known about it, and the Italians took it really, really seriously. Streets were empty for months because the healthcare system was just under so much strain. But now the country's starting to open up again. Restaurants are opening, and people are starting to eat out again, which is that is the Italian lifestyle, eating out. So it's great to see that coming back.
I just remember seeing the videos on Facebook and Instagram and stuff of just Italians with their windows open, just singing. And I was like, that is so Italian. That is the most Italian thing that you could do. Because it would start with one guy with his ukulele or whatever, just strumming some Italian tune. And then a guy across the street just starts singing in Italian. I must have watched videos like that for hours. I was just like, this is the most Italian thing. There is nothing more Italian than what is happening right now. Because they'd all join in. There'd be some maracas going or a tambourine, and it was like a big fucking concert going on in the streets. It was fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I was back in the UK for a few weeks last year, and some people were all trying to organise some singing in the street and some applauding for the NHS. So people were there, clapping for the NHS. But then when it came to singing, it just didn't work. The British don't do that.
No, they don't. Oh, the guys in my street for maybe every Thursday for a month were getting out, sort of banging pots and whatnot, and I'd get Jack to howl at the end of it and whatnot. And it was, after 4 weeks, then there would be you just hear like one pot. It's like, fuck this. There was no singing. There's no singing at all.
No, it's not the British way.
No. So what were the other feats that because I haven't actually got my phone or anything on me, but so you were part of the RAF 100, weren't you? Was it 100?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was lucky enough to be involved in that, and we took a 9-ship of Hawks, flew across initially to Linton on Ouse, and then we set off the next day to meet all the other formations over the North Sea, and then we all flew in to London and over Buckingham Palace. It was really good to be part of that. Really good, and I'm sure you saw the 100 that was made by the Typhoons as well at the very end. Yeah, that was something pretty smart to see. But no, it was good, really good.
And the Olympics as well, wasn't it? Did you say?
Yeah. So the Typhoon is the jet, the Air Force's aircraft that does quick reaction alert.
Yeah.
So for the Olympics in 2012, we put a detachment of aircraft down in RAF Northolt, which is in West London, just north of Heathrow. And to ensure we could get airborne quick enough, we took turns to sit in the jet with all the power on, and we'd just be waiting there for a potential call to get airborne. And sat there. It was pretty hot because all the computers in the jet were running in full kit. It's the middle of the summer, and I just heard this voice through my headset, and I looked down to the side of the jet, and it was David Cameron. Came along and plugged into the jet on a headset, and just said, how's it going? Love to see my Typhoons, and thanks for doing a great job. So we spoke a little bit, 5 minutes maybe, about the Olympics, and then he unplugged, and then off he went to his next PR meeting. But that was a bit surreal.
That's mad.
A bit surreal.
That is mental. Because I've just started wearing a headset at work because getting in contact with it, because the restaurant's bigger now. We've taken over next door as well, and we call it a kitchen manager. I'm essentially a head chef on most of my shifts, so I'm like the Gordon Ramsay at the pass, sending all the food, shouting at people.
Swearing.
I don't really swear that much anymore. I'm pretty chill. I'm not. I've done it for 6 years now, so it's there's no point getting irate at people. But I don't know whether you. I mean, I do know you guys would definitely have better quality sound in your headsets than the ones I'm using at work. But fucking hell, are they difficult to understand, people? Like, and when people don't understand that they've got because they tend to have lapel mics, so they'll press it, but they'll start talking before they've pressed it, and they're asking me about like a Deliveroo number or something like that, and it's like, can you talk slower for a start? And can you start talking after you've pressed the button? Because I'm getting half a conversation here, and then you try. I don't know if you're in a plane, if like you could talk like this, but you can't do it with the radios that we use. Like if I press to talk halfway through their talking, it cuts them off.
Yeah.
But neither of us can hear each other.
In the aircraft, if you've got two people in the aircraft, then you can talk openly with each other. But if you want to talk over the radio, which is what you guys are kind of doing, then you can't have two people talking at the same time. And you just train to ensure that firstly you push the button and then you talk, and then once you're finished, you release the button. It sounds simple, but obviously if you get it wrong, then it can cause a bit of a nightmare. It sounds like it does at times for you. Yeah,
you can see why they came up with certain phrases and stuff, because it's so much clearer. Do you know what I mean? Like Roger,
yeah, totally, yeah,
whatever. Yeah. It's so much clearer. I mean, what am I talking about?
I'm
talking about speaking to one person on a radio. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking mental. But so I have to ask, I don't know if you can actually disclose this. Did you ever get to break the sound barrier in a Hawk? Because I remember a discussion that me and you had about the fact you tried a few times, and there's a pretty dangerous way of doing it. But did you ever achieve it?
No, not in a Hawk. No, unfortunately, it doesn't go. There was a way to do it in a T1, but you can't do it in a T2 anyway, which I was instructing on, because it's not cleared for it, unfortunately. But no, you could do it in a T1, but I unfortunately didn't.
But is it possible?
In a T1, it is possible in a T1, yeah, definitely.
But not in a T2.
not in a T2. No. I could do it in the training jet that I'm flying now.
Right.
And obviously you can do it very easily in a Eurofighter, but not in a T2, but in a T1. Yeah.
So a Eurofighter, is that a French designed aircraft?
No, so that came about. Well, I say no. The French had some input into it in the early days. It was essentially UK, Italy, Spain, Germany, and France were involved in the beginning, but then they pulled out of the project and they built the Rafale
Right.
on their own. So then it was just left with Germany, UK, Spain, and Italy, who then took the project forward and then built the Eurofighter. But you will see some similarities with the Rafale in terms of the front of it with some foreplanes, and the delta wing is fairly similar.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm talking out of turn here. This might be complete bollocks, and I also don't know what it means. But I've read somewhere that the Typhoon is designed to be unstable. So it gives the pilot more control. Is that right?
Yeah. So the way it's designed, the aerodynamics, it's controlled by a computer, basically 4 computers that ensure that the jet stays flying in a straight line. So it is very easy to fly as an aircraft goes, because it was all electronics. And then if you then put an input into the stick, then the computers will move surfaces and you'll get a very quick response, which, like I say, makes it easy to fly. So in the purest sense of like hands and feet, it's easy. But then with the jet, the way it is with all its sensors and computers, then your job is kind of a sensor manager, really, just trying to manage all the data and information that comes into the jet. So it's slightly different to traditionally what you'd think of from a what you may have seen on Top Gun.
Yeah. What's the Yank version of the Eurofighter?
Well, it's the F-22 and the F-15, really.
Right.
They say that the F-15 is they call it a 4th generation fighter,
right.
And then the F-22 is a 5th generation fighter because it's stealth. And then we kind of put the Typhoon in the middle and say it's a 4.5 gen.
Right. Is it stealth?
But yeah, no, not the Typhoon. Isn't no.
Do we have stealth?
Yeah, so the F-35, which came in over the past couple of years at Marham, that's a stealth aircraft. Yeah.
Have you flown it?
Which we obviously bought from America. No, I had the opportunity, but I decided that I'd move to Italy instead. So
was that you just had enough of military life, or was it like you want to spend more time with your family? Yeah,
it's a fantastic career. There's some awesome times, but it's very much a lifestyle. It's all encompassing. So it does sort of dictate where you live, where your children go to school, and where your wife can work and live. So after doing say 14 years, we decided that we're going to take a bit more control over where we go, where we live, what we do. So it was a good point to part ways and try something different, or in a different country anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I quite like that. Because you got to spend your early 20s doing what the fuck you want, flying fucking aircraft, flying the fastest, the best planes in the world, riding motorbikes, driving fast cars, and then into your 30s, just like take control. There's so many people, I think, that like lifers in the military that have families that their kids grow up thinking, oh, I wish my dad was about a bit more. And
yeah, that is true, I believe. And I think it was time just to give a bit more priority to the family. So opportunity arose, so I took it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I will say about you, that I've always admired is you've got a good head on your shoulders. You always have done. Like, it was you that sort of pushed me to go and move my gym from above a pub to an established gym.
Great pub there, best pub in the world.
Best pub in the world, yeah. Not the best place to be training people. Do you remember the looks people used to give us when we'd be carrying all the equipment back out, putting it in a car, and they're all there getting day pissed, just getting pissed in the daytime, and there's all these sweaty bastards coming out of the fucking skittle alley. And
it was a bit random,
yeah, and like, fucking hell. 12 years later, I finally closed the gym because I was doing something. Obviously, I was chefing, and like, I look back at the different that's a career in itself. That's that sort of 10 years. That was great, and it started because my dad's gym closed, and me and a couple of mates were getting pissed in the barrels, and I spoke to Phil, and he told me that the skittle alley was available. I was like, well, I've got a shitload of free weights. Let's do this.
Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere, haven't you? Yeah.
Got to start somewhere, and it's very typical of me. Like, I could have quite easily got a job at a gym, but I was like, no, I want to do it my way.
Yeah,
got to do it my way.
Yeah,
and luckily,
I preferred that.
Yeah, but luckily, I had the likes of you and a few other people around me that were sort of directing me, like, Darren, you can't just keep. We're going to go through the floor in this old fucking listed
As the weight's
building.
quite heavier, yeah. As the weight's quite heavier, that could have been a factor, yeah.
But yeah, it's quite funny when I look back. It's like all the different people that I trained over the years, and it's something that I've been trying to do with the podcast. Is get, like, people I played football with. Like, do you remember going out to US Harold with me and doing those pre-season?
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah, like, we did all sorts.
And
I got paid. I
vessel in there.
Oh yeah. OP, that was, yeah. Doing the Jones crawl. He could have died. That would have been terrible. Fucking hell.
That was good. That was a good time. It was a good summer.
It was, yeah. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but that's going to be about 10. How old am I now?
I think it was
38.
About 11 years ago.
Yeah. I was going to say 10, 11 years ago, because I stopped playing football 10 years ago. So it would have been around about 11 years ago. That's mad. And we won the league that year, and that was the fittest USRL team that has ever been.
What happened after that?
I don't know, because I retired the year afterwards because I was fucking sick of breaking bones, and I keep doing it.
Yeah.
I broke my foot just before Christmas, hoovering in my house. I had flip-flops on and kicked the big thick like tiles they have in front of a fireplace. Just hoovering away, just booted it. Fucking broke my foot. I was in an air cast for 3 months.
You're getting old, mate.
I've always been a knob for hurting myself, though. Always. I'm trying to think. Where's my phone? Find a point. So Norwich, anyway, going up again.
Mate, we're doing very well. I mean, I think it's been a great season.
It has been a great season, but nobody other than Brazil can play in a yellow kit. Let's be honest.
Wow. I don't know. I kind of like that kit.
Have you got?
We'll see how they do next year.
Do you own a Norwich kit?
I've got a signed Norwich shirt from 1994.
1994?
From the Norwich team. Yeah, well, it's the team that beat Bayern Munich.
Fucking hell.
The famous Jeremy Goss volley. And obviously my boys have got a Norwich kit as well. So
yeah. Are they Norwich fans? Do they like football?
One is, the other supports Liverpool.
Liverpool?
Yeah. He just took to Liverpool for some reason.
Was it last year by any chance?
It was a couple of years ago. It was before they won the Premier League. He just took to them, and he loves it. Absolutely loves it.
You and your old man have got to be Norwich. Sasha's
Yeah.
old man is Man United, I'm pretty sure. No, he's Arsenal.
Arsenal.
Where the
Yeah,
fuck did
Arsenal.
Liverpool come from?
Exactly. I mean, the boy made his own choice, so
Well,
you cannot argue with that.
no. An annoying. He'll be an annoying fan, won't he? Yeah, we won it back in
He's good.
2020.
He's good at football. He's very
he?
good at football. Give him that.
Yeah,
he is
George
very
is.
good.
George plays for Hereford and also for
Really?
locally as well. Complete shock
Nice.
that was when she was about. Well, she's 13 now, so that would have been probably about when she was 6. She got sort of scouted at primary school. Jamie, that runs Tupsley team, did like a workshop and went up to, my old man was picking her up, and he was like, she needs to come and do some training. And she's played ever since. And this year she's represented Hereford twice. Would have been more, but COVID.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, at the moment, I'm still trying to work on her, but she's sort of lost interest now. It's been such a stop-start, basic 2 years in terms of football for her. That same with school. She's like lost all interest in school. She used to love school, but she preferred homeschooling because she got to learn stuff like how to use a knife, how to make food, how to use a camera. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like alongside. I always did the proper homeschooling, but it was like, do you know what, George? You got history next, and she'd be like, "Fuck, can't be bothered with history." It's like, right, come on, I'll show you how to change the aperture on a photo, and she'd be like, "Okay." So we'd walk down to the river, show her the different exposure levels and stuff like that, and she'd be like, "Oh, I prefer this way. I prefer this way. Oh, if I do that," and then she goes back to regular school. She's there for a few weeks. We get locked down again. She can't go to school. Goes back to homeschooling.
Yeah.
And it worked out quite well that I could just work nights then. So thanks for that, George. That was great, because nights in a restaurant, especially when they can only do takeaway, is fucking mental. So I'd be homeschooling from 9 o'clock in the morning, and then go to work and get slammed, and then have to be up at 9 o'clock in the morning, like 5 days a week. But it's COVID sort of really disrupted her, and she said, like, at the end of the season, she got a cup final coming up, but end of the season she doesn't want to play anymore, which is like, you speak to anybody that has watched her play, they're like, that's such a waste of talent. But at the same time, you can sort of see where she's coming from. She's like, every now and again, I have to get up at, again, teenager, I have to get up at 10 to ready for a kickoff at 12. Can't really be asked. I'd rather sit on my computer and watch anime and do all that shit. And she quite likes dressing up and doing that cosplay stuff to look like the Japanese anime characters and whatnot. And it's like, all right, well, I'll support whatever you want to do, but still
she might change her mind later. Yeah,
she might change her mind. And also, I've got a bit of a plan, mate. She's on a wage now. I've given her a wage.
Okay.
She can have 20 quid a week pocket money if she goes training and plays on Sunday. I haven't included, because she goes.
It's not a bad rate.
She's supposed to go to something called GDC, which is the Girls Development Centre, on a Friday night. I'm not pushing that, because they've lost quite a few girls from both under 16 and under 14. Now, George should be under 13, but in girls football in Herefordshire, they do it in 2-year blocks. So every other year, you're the eldest, and you're going to win the league, basically. And it's the same with the GDC. But they've lost that many players. They're sort of integrating them. So you've got Georgie, who is under 13, potentially playing against girls. Some of those girls will be turning 17 soon, and it's just like, I'm not putting her through that. Like that is too big of an age gap. And unfortunately, mate, I've paid hundreds of pounds for this, but I'd rather lose that couple of quid and her not be getting stressed out about playing footy against girls that are basically women. But
yeah, you don't want to push that because she'll push it too hard, dislike it, and never want to do it ever again. So.
Yeah, and it's a hard situation, which I'm sure you can fully appreciate being a dad yourself. I'm in a real hard situation here where it doesn't matter what she does. When she was in year 6, she did the 200 meters. Yeah, it was 200 meters in year 6 primary school. She was 3 seconds off the women's world record. 11.
Wow.
She's rapid. She is incredibly physical. Like, honestly, albeit I will say it's a questionable 200-meter track. But as far I've even got video evidence, and I googled straight away. I was like, "Fucking hell, it was quick." And she finished, I think, 6 seconds. Bear in mind how long that is on a 200-meter race before every other girl in her class. 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's sort of it's a long time. As you were a hurdler, weren't you? So you.
That's right. I was. Yeah.
So if you've got time to look over your shoulder, turn around, and wait for the other girls to finish, you're pretty quick.
That's a big gap. Yeah.
Yeah. Albeit Hampton Dean's a small school. But that's just an example. And she's getting to the point now where she's like, "Oh, I can't be bothered to play football." And I don't know whether to be like, you can't be a pushy parent in the fact that, no, you are playing. But also, am I being just as bad if I let her waste that talent? Do I try and guide her? Like, all right, then if you don't want to play football, if football's not your thing, but you've got to do something because you're really physically capable. You've got to do something. You can't just sit in your room playing Roblox or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, you're right. You can't force it because then she'll just come to hate it. But try and steer maybe towards something else, maybe athletics.
Yeah.
If she's that fast.
I mean, athletics in Hereford, I don't really know a great deal about it. I know there's a track at the leisure centre.
Yeah, I guess the club's still going. That's where I started when I was about, get this right, I think about 12 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Started going down there and discovered I could jump over a couple of barriers, and then started doing it for I did it for the next 10 years. So there was a good team down there. I think they're still down there. Same team of coaches, pretty experienced. So get on the website, have a look, get down there and see what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth having a look. But it's just it's one of those, like, I'm sure you've had well, I don't know if you have, but the conflict as a parent, like, how far do you push them? How do you push them to the point that they appreciate it when they're older? It's like, I'm glad you kept me in this, Dad. Or are you pushing them to the point where they're like, Dad, on their 30th birthday, Dad, I really wish you hadn't fucking kept going on at me? Because
it's a difficult one. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and there's no right answer. But personally, for me, I think you could push them a little bit, but if they start to say I definitely don't want to do it, then you've at that point just got to stop, because they may start to resent you for it.
Yeah, resent you for it, and you also like, I genuinely enjoy watching her do any sports, or I wouldn't give a shit what it was. You'd be the same. You're quite a competitive person. I like seeing my kid be competitive, and she is fucking. Look, we play frisbee in the garden, and if she can't do something, you can see in her face, she's like, I am gonna get this, and she does. It takes her a few times, and she gets it. And it just seems a shame. Like, I don't know. It's maybe it's an adaptation thing, like the whole digital age or whatever. But I just don't get the fact that if you're that good at something, it doesn't matter what it is, just crack on. But she's got her her mum's sort of relaxed attitude to that sort of thing. Oh, I just can't be asked. Can't be asked. I'm not doing that this week. And you just think, yeah, but if you can't be asked, then all of a sudden you decide you want to do it, you're gonna be left behind. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's just you don't. That's the thing about being a parent. There's no book. You can't study to be a parent, and if you do, you're a twat.
I mean, yeah, there are books out there, but I've not read any of them myself, and right. There's no guarantee any of them are going to work, so don't bother.
Yeah. So in that sort of stemming back and on that curve, like at what point did you think like I quite fancy being a pilot?
Yeah, it's a good question. Pretty young actually. My father was he flew light aircraft as a hobby out of Shopton when I was quite young, and my uncle's always been interested in aviation. He's written quite a few books about the Blackbird and the F-15, F-117. So there's always been that sort of mindset towards aviation as I was growing up. So I thought, yeah, do you know what? That sounds like an awesome job to do. So I applied when I was in college, going towards the end of college. The Air Force said, thanks, but no thanks.
Really?
You're not ready. Yeah. They said you're not ready, which, they were totally right. So go to university and then try again. So I did 3 years at university, which was great. And then I applied again, and I was fortunate enough to get accepted at the time. And then about 6 months after going through selection, I went off to Cranwell to start my officer training. But yeah, the selection process is a great one, and you learn a lot about yourself. And like I said, they were totally right the first time by saying come back again in 3 years, which I was fortunate enough to obviously then experience university as well. So it worked out pretty well.
Is there many people that go from sort of college age?
Not many, no. Obviously, when I joined, I then started working with some guys that had joined at the age of 18. Mm-hmm. But there's not many. Well, not when I joined anyway. Most people joined after university. Yeah,
that sort of makes sense
because that 3 years that you do, not necessarily university, maybe in work or university. That's a really key 3 years for you to just grow up a little bit, really.
And it's hard as an 18-year-old to accept that, isn't it? Sometimes, and I think because it sort of mirrors what I had with my selection process at the gym, when it was always that sort of sit on the porch fight club mentality of no. If anybody messaged me, no. Like if you'd recommended me somebody, yeah, bring them along. If somebody's just messaging me because they like my photos, no. And in defense of elitism, which you have to be to do the job that you've done, a white belt is not a black belt. And you aren't just flying a Cessna or a glider. You're potentially flying the most elite aircraft in the world. Why the fuck would they accept just any 18-year-old that wants to have a go?
Yeah, they've got to get it right. That's the thing, because if they don't get it right, then it's going to be in the long run expensive, and it's a really, really expensive and long period of time to train somebody up, and that's somebody they're training where they could have been taking somebody else in that slot. So they have to be really, really sure that they've got the right people, but also it proves that they will take people from any background. So I didn't go to private school. None of my relations were in the Air Force or the military, and I was fortunate enough to get selected. So if it's something that you definitely want to do, then give it a go.
Yeah, man, and it's sort of a testament to yourself as well, though, because if I remember rightly, you sort of passed out from your flying school on quite a high level, didn't you?
Yeah, so I had no previous flying experience when I joined the Air Force, and they taught me everything about flying. And in the early days, I was just getting by, getting through the tests and the courses, not setting the world alight, but just getting by. But it wasn't until I got to tactical weapons training on the Hawk, which I then started to really enjoy the flying, and started to my grades essentially started to go up, and then it sort of all peaked at the right time, and I was lucky enough to go off to the Eurofighter.
Do you have a favourite fast jet? Does you talk about the Hawk a lot, and I feel like you've got a bit of a love for the Hawk.
It's a great little jet, but it's definitely not my favourite. I'd pick the Eurofighter over the Hawk any day. Yeah, I think growing up, the F-15 was the jet that I always wanted to fly, but obviously not being American, I'd have to go on exchange to do that. For me, in terms of the UK jets, Eurofighter, Typhoon every day.
Yeah. Is it? My old man's always told me this. Is it true that every pilot, aeroplane pilot in the RAF is a failed fast jet pilot?
I wouldn't say that, mate.
Is it because if you're flying a Herc, for example, you definitely went to go and your ambition was to fly a fast jet, wasn't it? And maybe not like a failed one is like, because sometimes it's like physicality, isn't it? Like your body can't handle.
Yeah, true. But also as well now, when I was going through training, the first part of my training, at the end of the first course, you get selected for either fast jet training or helicopters or multi-engine. But there are people that do join now, and from day one they say, I want to fly a C-17, or I want to fly a Chinook. That is the way it is now. I mean, maybe in the past that wasn't the case, but definitely now people generally, because maybe they're a bit older when they go through training, they kind of know where they want to go long term, and some, you could say some are maybe failed fast jet pilots, but no, I think they all do. They all obviously do a great job wherever they are. So
yeah, it's meant to. I don't know if you can see you, but it's like you've got like a fake background, because every couple of minutes you're just getting fork lightning behind you. I'm quite shocked actually that you've still got connection, because every time it thunders here, my internet is fucking gash. I had a couple of questions. I jinxed it. Oh, you're back. You're not back. You're in slow motion.
All right, we're back in, I think.
We're back. We're back in the room.
Yeah, we're back.
I've crossed my fingers that many times to ask questions, and that's sort of my thing. Is if I think of something, I cross my fingers, and I mean to do it, but obviously, when you're just chatting to your mate, you forget because you go on to another thing. Like I just had a 15-minute chat to you about Georgie playing football. One of the things, are you taught to parachute?
So there is some training for if you were to eject, but we don't actually go and do live parachute jumps.
See, I'd have thought that
you
would be something you would.
So it's more of a risk reward thing. So they look at the probability of you having to actually eject and be under a parachute, compared to if we then sent every pilot for parachute training, how many broken legs and ankles would we end up with?
Yeah, I suppose you're all officers. You're fucking
and injured backs. You don't want to break your back and then not be able to fly. So,
according to every parachutist I've known, if you get an injury, it's your own fault anyway.
Totally, yeah, totally.
I suppose
the problem is you'll have every pilot with a broken back.
Yeah. There was another one. The Osprey.
Yeah.
Could you fly it?
Do you know what? I do not know. I mean, that thing.
It's a mixture between a helicopter and a.
Yeah. So I've flown. I've had a go at flying helicopters before.
Yeah.
And hovering a helicopter, and then once it's airborne, it will then transition into essentially a fixed wing aircraft.
Yeah.
So I'd give it a go, but I couldn't guarantee anything.
I suppose that'd be quite a specialist.
Horrendous.
That'd be quite a specialist aircraft to fly, wouldn't it? You wouldn't just be. I suppose it's the fixed wing of fast. Well, the Eurofighter of fixed wings, isn't it? Because it's so different to. Surely.
Yeah, it's.
I look at that aircraft sometimes. I'm like, surely you can't like. How is it still able to like just put those propellers up at any point while it's flying? Because surely something's gonna go wrong.
Well, remember, the Harrier.
Well, the Harrier, but that was different.
Similar thing.
That was a jump jet,
with jet. Yeah, it's a jet engine, but essentially all you're doing is you're moving the thrust or the lift, which is generated by the propellers on the Osprey. You just move in the direction of that, and if you just get the timing right, then you can then transfer it from forward flight into a hover.
You say that like very smugly, like like Darren, that's barely a chef.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Would completely understand that, but because there's got to be a transition period, surely, where
definitely, yeah.
You hit the right speed going forward and the right altitude from the ground that you can flip those things up, and it will stay.
There will be.
I just think about the bit where it's going like that. If you've got it wrong, like what's happening? Where are you going?
I think
it almost
there's
be
a lot
in reverse,
of computers.
Computers.
There's a lot of computers involved in that.
See, in my head, there's no computers. It's all just maverick.
Yeah,
it's just maverick.
21st century, unfortunately, mate. Sport the illusion.
Do you would you like to own your own plane? As in, like, just have like a Cessna or something. You could just like, come on, boys, we're gonna go fly over to Sicily today. Yeah,
I mean, maybe not a Cessna, but
what's wrong with a Cessna? I see him flying over Hereford all the time.
There's nothing wrong with a Cessna. Nothing wrong with a Cessna. It's just how far you can go in it.
What would you go for?
Take a business jet.
A Learjet.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. That'd be absolutely perfect. Yeah, you could jump in it on a Friday and then just fly over to, maybe Sicily, like you say, or
Sicily, Malta,
southern Spain. Yeah, all the great spots. Yeah, probably to Greece.
What
for the weekend?
So for you, in terms of if you wanted to have a plane in Civvy Street, are you like Lewis Hamilton trying to buy a car? If you know what I mean. Like, would you have to do a Civvy Street another license to
exactly? Yeah, exactly.
You would.
Yeah. So I've
even though you could go, look, this is me. Fly in.
Yeah, it doesn't work, unfortunately. It doesn't work.
That's fucking bollocks. It's absolute bollocks.
I've got a civilian license.
I used to fly the Eurofighter. Any chance I could just jump in? No. All right. That is
it's a shame,
absolute
but
bollocks.
it doesn't work like that. Yeah, I know.
Do you have a civvy license to fly, or you just?
I do,
bother?
yeah, because I'm obviously now a civilian, but I'm still flying jets. Then in Italy, they want you to have a license, so I've got a commercial pilot's license.
Right.
It's not. It doesn't necessarily qualify me to fly the jet I'm flying, but it's just a license to say that I am a pilot, and I haven't made it up.
Right. That's mental. What was your friend? I was trying to think earlier because I thought that might be another good podcast. What was your mate called that was he was at Valley with you, and he came down. He had a few beers a few times in Saxties and whatnot.
That Tom.
Tom, that's it. Couldn't remember his. I literally was like scrolling through my Facebook. Like I've got so many unnecessary friends that I don't even know who these people are going through. I was like, I ain't gonna find him before the podcast. What's he up to now? Because he left the RAF, didn't he? And he was going to do commercial flying.
Did, yeah. So he's flying now. I'm pretty certain it's BA, British Airways.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. So
he's
doing well. So he did spend a bit of time, I think, over in Hong Kong, and then back over to the UK, and then he joined BA. So
is that
doing well?
In terms of being a pilot, is that the way to make the most money? Is get with an airline?
Not necessarily. It depends what you do. For some multi-engine pilots, then commercial airline flying is a good way to make money long term. For fast jet pilots, typically, if you want to make the money, then you go overseas to fly fast jets.
Mm-hmm. So,
but you only have being a fighter pilot has a finite amount of time on it, and you can't do it forever. So that transition over to airline flying generally happens eventually.
Yeah. Would So how fast does a Boeing, like you're going on your holiday? How fast are we traveling there? Because they used to have screens. They don't have screen. They don't have anything in anymore. What we talking?
So they'll go pretty fast because they can go pretty high. So they'll go about we'd say Mach 0.8, 0.8 Mach, which is 0.8 the speed of sound.
Yeah.
So that's pretty quick, I mean, in comparison, a Eurofighter can go 1.8. It's obviously a lot faster, but it's built, for speed, not for carrying people.
It doesn't sound that much faster, but it is, isn't it? The difference between 0.8
it's a lot faster,
and 1.8. That is.
Yeah, we're talking an entire speed of sound there.
Yeah. So it like for my listeners that don't know this, in terms of miles per hour, I know you guys use knots, but in terms of miles per hour, what's the difference between 0.8 and 1.8?
So if you say on average, roughly the speed of sound at sea level is about 660 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going 1.8, making your public mass now, then you're going to be looking at about 1,600 miles per hour. But you don't really get the sensation of it.
I know, but still. Fucking hell, riding motorbikes and getting up to a ton is fucking terrifying. And there's so much more. Oh God. Do you have to do like reaction time stuff to do that sort of thing? Because your reactions must be incredible.
No, it's again.
I understand there must be a difference, but like obviously when you're up high, things are like you said, when you're close to the ground, you sort of, your brain can understand how fast you're going. When you're up high, you're just up high traveling in a direction. But still, if you still must, like, your reaction time must be so much more superior to mine in order to just control that machine.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't really work like that because you're so high, or when I say so high, you're knocked that close to the ground, so you've got more time than you think, actually. And it's all about really just trying to do several things at the same time. That's a tricky thing, so trying to keep the jet going in a certain direction, whilst maybe changing speed, whilst looking at the map, whilst checking the height, maybe using the radio, trying to do all those different things at the same time is how it then starts to become pretty tricky. But reactions aren't necessarily that much of a factor. Sorry to say.
Try to big you up, make you some sort of elite athlete.
Yeah, I know.
So basically, what you're saying is all pilots should be women because you've got to be able to multitask.
Yeah, you could say that, mate. You could say that.
Do you have many female pilots?
There are some. For the fast jet force, off the top of my head, when I left the Air Force, I think there was maybe 3. So not many. Not many.
3 in my head. That's not many.
Yeah.
That's not many, is it?
It's not many. No, not fast. Not. That's just fast jets. I think you find more. There are more in helicopters and fast jet. No.
No. Any non-binary?
I don't know. Never.
No,
never approached the subject.
It was it literally one of my chefs. Well, not one of my chefs. He's actually the same as me at work. Sent me a thing saying, "Here's a talking point for your podcast." So Instagram have now put in that you can specify your pronoun.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
So that's what I just.
That's the Air Force.
I like to joke about shit like that because like it's just, it seems to be every time I go on the internet in any way, it's out there, and I like to joke about it because if you don't joke about stuff like that, it's fucking. I don't care.
It's the Air Force moving into the 21st century.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do like to I like to have a little section. I don't know if you listen to the podcast ever, but I do like to have a couple of little sections that I like to end on. And
go on then.
One is irrational fears when you were a kid that you look back now you go, that was ridiculous. That was completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why was I scared of that? I always go back to it's my usual example. Up at St. Paul's Church by St. Paul's School, there's I guess it's a monument. It's not a headstone, but it's a monument of an angel with its hands in a praying position. And I was always told as a kid, every once in a while, that thing comes to life. And I remember being told that by like one of the bigger boys, and I fucking legged it back to my parents' house. And I swear to God, even now, I walk past that thing and I always give it a double look. Another one was that one of my friends told me that I ran over a Johnny at Gorsty Lane on my brand new bike that I got for my birthday, and my friends told me that I had AIDS, and I shit myself. I was about 10 years old. I shit myself for weeks.
That's a harsh joke.
Because they told me. Well, this is like. Well, I'm going to say it's like 1991. So AIDS is still like the worst. Well, it's still not very good now, but you know what I mean. It's like late 80s, early 90s. AIDS is the one, and they told me this, and then they told me that the way I'll find out is they will send me a tiny little coffin that when you open it, it says, "Congratulations, you've got AIDS," and that stuck with me until I was probably about 11 years old. I was still waiting for this coffin to get sent round to me.
Got some good mates.
Yeah. So yeah, anything you could think of that might be like a little bit like you were scared, like because I was the most scared kid. I was scared of everything, but anything you could think of that when you were little really scared you, but you look back and you go, well, that was silly. Why did I think that was?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think hard now. Should have pre-warned me for this one.
Everyone says that, and then they come out with a belter.
Yeah. I guess they do. Put on the spot, you know. It's funny if I said fear of flying, fear of heights. No,
Did you?
I'm joking. No.
No, I didn't think so.
Would have been good though, wouldn't it? Do you know
See,
what?
I'm scared of heights, but I'm not scared of
it.
flying. I
Okay.
hate being on like a surface up high, and it's worse when I look up. If I look up, that's when I go, oh fucking hell. Look down, I'm fine as long as I know like where I am at. Since I was little, I've been in open door helicopters, open door planes. I've been strapped in a fucking parachute just in case. But yeah, if I have to go up a ladder and I'm at the top of the ladder and I look up towards where I've got to go to, I'm like, shit, I'm getting vertigo here. It's mental.
Yeah.
I'll fly any day of the week. I don't care. I just don't like standing.
I guess there's quite a few. Yeah, I guess there's quite a few people like that, actually. Yeah. I guess if you have to like look out the window, maybe right down to the ground, you might feel a bit funny in the plane.
But... No, I don't. I quite like that.
All right.
So
okay.
I've got like
that is weird.
I've got like a resonation to resonation. Is that a word? Am I making words up? Resonation. I resonate towards like flying.
Okay.
I like it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't like roller coasters. I don't like diving boards, but I'll go on and I will jump off a diving board. I'm not a pussy, but like going, like if you imagine being at a water park and going up the stairs to a massive water slide, like one of those kamikaze ones. I'll do the kamikaze bit. It's the going up the ladder. I'm like, no, this is shit. I hate this. I feel really unsafe. I'm going to fall off.
That's an interesting one because I climb a ladder any day, but I never jumped off the top diving board in Leisure Point, Hereford. Too high for me. No.
Fucking hell.
I did it when I was going through officer training, but when I was younger, wouldn't do it.
No, see, I got dad bullied into that, in the fact that he knows that I'm scared of that sort of stuff. I don't like heights.
Yeah.
Like the big wheel can fuck off. I'll do a fast roller coaster, like the standy up one at Drayton Manor or whatever. I'll do that, but I ain't going on a thing that goes really slowly that I could potentially fall off. Don't like that.
Just prolong the pain.
And he wouldn't, like, me and my brother used to go swimming in the summer. Like, I'd literally get £2 to go to the swimming bars, have a portion of chips between the two of us. Don't worry about childcare. That was like my summer holidays, every day, swimming bath. And the one day, me and my brother were doing like somersaults and stuff off the second board. And my dad was like, he'd come to pick us up. He said, have you been off that top one yet? I was like, no, I don't like that, Dad. I don't like that at all. He was like, well, you ain't going home until you've been off that, and you've got to dive. So under pressure, I actually did do it. I remember going off the board and just being like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. I've got no time. I don't know. I haven't even jumped off this board and I'm going straight into a dive. I've got no timing. I don't know how long it takes. And I remember hitting the water and had my hands sort of in this position. So for anybody that's only listening to the audio, because I think I will put this one out on YouTube, which will be the first one in a year that I put out on YouTube. I've got like a maybe 30-degree bend in both my elbows, and my hands aren't pointed, they're flat. So my hands hit the water. They went flying behind my back, and I could literally, like, you know, and you feel your shoulders just get completely wretched. And then my head slapped against the water, and I got out, and I've never experienced this since. My head, from my forehead above my eyebrows to sort of my crown, was numb. It was completely numb because I basically had no support because my arms had got shot behind me, slapped against the water. And yeah, that's what my dad made me do. I must have been
That's
like 12. I was 12.
That's why I never jumped off the top board, mate.
Jumping was worse. Diving was fine. Jumping was worse because you could see everything. When you're diving, you're just like looking at the water. Yeah. So you haven't thought of any irrational fears?
I guess the top diving board, mate, would be my irrational fear, but I managed to conquer it eventually.
Trying to think one minute. Oh, underrated, overrated. Yeah. I like to finish on overrated, underrated. And it could be anything.
Okay.
Quite often it gets turned to food because of what I do now. Because they're examples like an overrated thing for me would be like a fish finger sandwich. People rant and rave, oh, it's shit. It's fucking shit. And underrated would be like a jacket potato with tuna mayo. Okay. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't have to be anything to do with that. It could be absolutely anything. Like Superman's trainer, Michael Blevins, he said self-improvement is overrated and self-development is underrated. Of course he came out with some philosophical thing. He's one of the guys from formerly Jim Jones, which is now owned by somebody else. But anything that Adam Paul can come up with that you think is underrated.
I'll start with overrated.
Overrated. Anything. I love it. I love hearing.
Little bit controversial maybe for some people, but whiskey.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey's overrated.
I don't get it.
You don't get it? What, you don't like it?
I don't. Exactly. I've tried it so many times, try and force myself to understand why people like drinking whiskey, but I can't stand the stuff.
Can't stand it. To what point have you tried? Have you gone top
shelf? I was in Edinburgh. I did Edinburgh. We did the whole whiskey tour.
Yeah.
Around Edinburgh. Starting off with the weaker ones with water in it, trying to work way up, in the different blends, different malts. Just didn't get it.
Don't like it.
Still don't get it. No. Someone gives me a bottle of whiskey. So thanks, but
it's a pass-on present.
No, it is a massively a pass-on present. Yeah.
No, I can get that. It's sort of whiskey's one of those things you either like it or you don't. I remember when we used to go out, I used to make us do the cowboy shot in Wetherspoons. Do you remember that? You used to get the Buffalo Trace. It's the only place you could get Buffalo Trace. And we'd always have the Buffalo shot before we went to dusk. It was always a bad idea. It was always a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And thinking about it, actually, you fucking hated it. You hated it every time.
Yeah, what was in it?
It's just Buffalo Trace whiskey.
Exactly.
It's a whiskey that's older than the United States, but it's from the United States. Before the United States became the United States, Buffalo Trace was a whiskey. I didn't know that at the time. It was just had a buffalo on the bottle, and I was like, well, we're going cowboy drinking. So overrated is whiskey, underrated.
I'll stay on the drink theme, and something that I think is I could drink quite a lot of it, but you never really see it or hear of it much, and these days anyway, is bitter lemon.
Bitter lemon
soda. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, you see it a lot. You still see that over here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I've not seen much of it over here, but yeah.
You have to drink limoncello over there, don't you? Instead.
Great. You do, but I'm not had much of that. It's more wine, to be honest now.
Yeah.
I really, really miss Buddy back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously can't get over it.
I'll see if I can get some sent over to you, because we use Valley at the restaurant. I'll see if I can get you.
That would be great, but I don't think you can anymore because the UK is not in the EU. So I don't think you can send like liquids and alcoholic drinks and stuff like that.
There's got to be a way.
You can give it a go, but I don't think it's going to happen.
There's got to be a way. It has to be. We'll try. I'll try. I'll look into it. So
you try and send it, see what happens.
Well, I'll just pretend it's something else. No, no, I will look into it. There's got to be a way to export stuff. There's got to be.
You know, you can export stuff, but as a like what would be essentially I guess it would be like a personal item, wouldn't it? I don't know, mate. It's complicated. You have to look into it. You have to look into it.
I will. Right. So I've actually eaten up more than your 45 minutes, mate.
You have, mate. I've got things, to be getting on with. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Thanks so much for the time, mate. It's been good to catch up, and I think this will be a good episode for people to listen to. And like I said,
good to chat again, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I say this to all my guests. Like, I want return guests. I want people that enjoyed this episode to be able to hear more about stuff that you've done, stuff that we got up to like 10, 11 years ago. Do you know what I mean? The stories of getting pissed and me texting you in the morning, where the fucking hell did you go? And you text me, where the fuck did you go? And we were in the same building, but we just got lost. Do you know what I mean? All that sort of stuff. But yeah, thanks very much for your time, mate. And your stories. This has been Obsessive Conversive Podcast, and we're out.